Hi everybody, it's Elizabeth Erbrecht with Conversations on Death and Dying, the video show for people who want to talk about death, don't want to talk about death, and everything in between. So today's conversation is going to be about living wills and advance directives. A living will is a document that you create in conversation with the person that is going to be able to speak for you when you cannot speak. So a living will is not a legal document, depending on the state. And you can create your own living will on a piece of paper. You can get a free form online. If you just Google free living wills online, and each state has some different rules about that, but you can research that. And it gives you just a couple of questions to fill out. So really what I talk to people about living wills is to have a conversation with the person that you want them to speak for you. That's the real big point in having a living will. It's not really the piece of paper, but the person that's going to be contacted, and make sure that they know your wishes for what you would like if you are found unconscious. So what happens when a person is found unconscious and then they're taken to the hospital? The police, the hospital, they do their best to find your next of kin, and they're going to ask that person to come in, and they're going to talk to that person, usually fairly quickly. Does the person want to be resuscitated? Does the person want to be intubated? Does the person want artificial hydration or nutrition? Do you want to be put on life support if your brain is no longer working? These are all questions that you, the person laying in the bed in the hospital, is not going to be able to answer, and your loved one will be able to. So really, when I do sit down with people to create their living wills, it's about conversation. It's about listening to the person that is asking you to be their representation, to be the person that represents them and their wishes, and for you to converse with the person that you're choosing. So I know there'll be a second part to this video. I'm going to go more into depth on what that looks like, but really a living will is something that I would suggest everybody has from the time that they're old enough to make their own decisions. And living wills are something you can also change at any time. You can change your living will at any time. I know my living will has changed 3 times. So it's good to also, I've had some people say, oh, I created my living will a couple of years ago. It's like, great, maybe every 2 or 3 years, revisit your living will and see if your wishes are still the same. I know I've had some people ask me what forms that I like to do, and there is a program called 5 Wishes. It is not a free form, but it is something that I like to use when I sit down with families to discuss their advance directives. So that's living will, a little part of the living will. Next week, I'm going to talk more about what sort of happens more in an emergency situation and how we can make sure that the police and the hospital reach out to the correct person. So with that, this is Elizabeth Erbrecht with Conversations on Death and Dying, the show for people that want to talk about death, don't want to talk about it, and everything in between. Have a wonderful day, guys. Thank you so much for joining me.